Alive and Well STL is a presentation of the St. Louis Regional Health Commission and RareGem Productions to build a healthier St. Louis. Power up with the positive. Learn more at oneraregem.com. That's ONERAREGEM.com.
Support for Alive and Well STL comes from Beyond Housing, helps entire communities become better places to live. Learn more at beyondhousing.org.
The Regional Health Commission works in partnership with regional health sector advocates and stakeholders to improve healthcare access, reduce health disparities, and improve health outcomes for the uninsured and the underinsured in St. Louis City and County.
Alive and Well STL with Bethany Johnson-Javois, CEO of the St. Louis Integrated Health Network. Today we join the conversation initiated by Alive and Well to gather as a community to share how we as individuals, families, and neighbors can support one another to be alive and well.
So we really want to just begin this conversation. We want to have that conversation all over St. Louis City and St. Louis County. We want to have the conversation at cocktail parties. We want to have the conversation at the baseball game. We want to have the conversation wherever, because it is an important conversation for all of us to be able to start to connect the dots. So we can get to the point where it's not about what is wrong with you, but it's really, tell me what's happened to you. Let's talk about that first.
This is producer Jade Harrell. We'll be right back.
My biggest aha was the difficulty I was having at times in not filtering the responses of the table members through my lens of race, age, gender, and personal experience.
Alive and Well STL. Today we join the conversation initiated by Alive and Well to gather as a community to share how we as individuals, families, and neighbors can support one another to be alive and well. Improving the wellness of our community is up to all of us, and everyone is invited to join the conversation. Recently, Alive and Well opened the door and hosted the first community conversation for a group of people interested in talking about how we better the well-being of the region and come up with next steps to become alive and well.
Good to see a lot of old, or I should say long-standing friends around the table, and I see a lot of new people around the table, and that's really exciting. Welcome to our first Alive and Well session. We're very excited that everyone came.
Robert Friend Jr. knows how to engage the community.
We've been doing community engagement activities at the RHC for many, many years since we started, close to 15 years ago, really focused around access to care. And that's really been a big focus of ours. And we've done a really good job as a region, getting more and more people into healthcare settings.
As president and CEO of the St. Louis Regional Health Commission, he and his colleagues have worked hard to improve the health outcomes and access to care for the citizens of St. Louis.
We actually have 120, 150,000 more people seeing a doctor who are low income this year than we did 10 years ago. And we're very happy about that. We've worked really hard on that. There's a lot of partners around this room that have worked hard on that. And we've seen health improve in our region because of that. And that's been great.
And what a tremendous turnout for a vague positive concept. An invitation to the table for a conversation about the health of this community.
But more and more, what we're finding out is that while access to health care is absolutely necessary and absolutely just, and absolutely the right thing to do, it's not going to be sufficient for us to truly build a healthier community. And there's some other pieces that are missing. And what we want to talk about is what else can we be doing in our region to help build a healthier St. Louis?
The room was full of a diverse group of people. Race, age, gender, professions, and backgrounds. There were no obvious answers to the most common questions like why or when. However, there was a collective hope and willingness to work on how to begin the healing of a hurting region.
I want to start by just talking about why we are here today. And I got to tell you, first off, I am just totally excited by the number of people that are here. First off, thank you for being here.
Joe Yancey, Executive Director of Places for People and Community Advisory Board Member of the St. Louis Regional Health Commission.
You know, simply by the fact that we are alive, there are things that are going to happen to us as we go through that life. And sometimes those things are going to be emotionally taxing. They're going to be difficult. They may be hurtful. They could be things that happen to our community or to us as individuals or to somebody that we love and care very much about. And when those things happen, how we bounce back, how we deal with those when they occur is really why we're here today, is to talk about trauma-informed communities and the things that happen to us.
Joe says things that happen to us and how we deal with them and cope with them determine our overall health and well-being, not just emotionally, but also physically.
So it could be physical, it could be emotional, it could be psychological, spiritual trauma, or any other kind of damage we encounter simply as being part of the human race and living in communities.
Joe knows after so many years and seeing so many people who come into his shop, and it's his job to rebuild them, build them back up. He says this issue is potentially the root of much of the dysfunction in our communities in terms of our overall well-being, both as individuals and a collective community.
This is a movement that we are embarking on today to help assist our communities, ourselves as individuals as well, to become alive and well.
Here's where we get into a greater understanding of trauma-informed communities.
We started talking long before Ferguson happened. Okay? We started talking this spring. This is not a response to Ferguson, and yet it is a response to Ferguson. And I think you can understand, this is our community that's been going on a long time.
Dr. Fred Rotnick, chair of the Provider Advisory Board of the St. Louis Regional Health Commission.
Well, there were many avenues into this topic, and many of you are probably familiar with those, but one of the most powerful is the ACE study. The ACE study arose almost serendipitously when a medical director of an eating disorder clinic, an obesity clinic in the Kaiser Permanente system, kind of stumbled across the fact that many of his patients who are not getting better had a history of sexual abuse in their childhood. We're talking about people who have adverse experiences resulting in bad outcomes.
We are a sum of our experiences. Not only does what affect us as we grow, but our ability to cope with those situations.
That boiled down into this correlation between adverse childhood experiences and outcomes that were definitely what we consider suboptimal. Effects on individuals' health, individuals' behavior, and the society or community in which they found themselves.
But just as we are exposed, we have to look at our resilience, our opportunities, and the choices we are able to make.
I may have an ACE score of 4, but if I were an African-American male my age who grew up in the middle of Spanish Lake, my choices and opportunities might have been much different from me growing up in Afton and Sunset Hills, okay? So you see how choices and opportunity affect that. And one point we strongly want to make today is we do not want to diminish the fact that we have pockets of folks in our community whose intensity of adverse experiences really cause them to get stuck. The choices are not there. The opportunities are not there. And we don't want to say by trauma being universal that trauma is the same for everyone, because it isn't.
It's a way of considering the impact of what has happened to us and how these things can affect our health, our well-being, our decisions, and our baselines of what we even in some cases consider to be normal. You know, while none of us are immune to these occurrences, as individuals or communities, again, how quickly and effectively we bounce back once they occur is, again, in many ways depending on our access to resources to mitigate that damage and that hurt, and our ability to access support from friends and family, neighbors, and our communities.
Alive and Well host Bethany Johnson-Javois, CEO of the St. Louis Integrated Health Network, opens the conversation with an open invitation to her personal trauma as well as her resolve.
I want to pull back the curtain to allow you to peer into a window of my own life experience by sharing something that has happened to me that influences who I have become and the work that I know that I'm called to do. I am Bethany Ann Johnson Javois. I grew up in a happy and nurturing home as a child. My mom taught me, Beth, you can do hard things. And my dad taught me that it was great to be a baby girl. It was even better to be his baby girl, but to be a baby girl was an asset, and I worked that. I received love, protection, affirmation, and correction. It's true. My happy place when I was a child was being at home with my family and with Sesame Street, almost hand in hand. And I have to tell you that I cried when it was time to go to school and leave my happy place. Because once I stepped outside the doors, things kind of changed for me. Now, at this point in my story, I was almost going to take the easy way out. Because it would be more comfortable for me to share with you the trauma I've experienced because of structural racism. For example, how I have mourned over missing relationships with my 3 brothers who had to move over 1,000 miles away in the 1980s to be alive and well because they were young black men. Or how as a youth I cried in my pillow many nights about countless missed opportunities for strong friendships outside of my race simply because the stigma of my race. Those stories, that's easy for me to convey. But the harder thing to admit to myself and to you is to share the pain of my experience that is connected to the trauma of sexism. Quite frankly, I never really think about it. In high school, after the end of my 5th period art class, which is my favorite class in high school with my favorite teacher, Mr. Charles Pearson, a boy I had considered my close friend abruptly pulled me to the side by my arm to allow others to keep walking, which left us alone. He demanded that I tell him the details of a conversation that I promised to keep in confidence. I refused. So he grabbed me in a sensitive area of my breast. He squeezed, he pulled, he twisted, hoping that I would break. I didn't break. And I didn't tell, but I paid a price. I remember crying and laughing at the same time. And the pain was excruciating. I remember feeling like I was in shock. It was surreal to me. My trust had been broken because this was my friend. He wrinkled my shirt, which caused me to have to walk through the hallways with people saying, "What happened to your shirt?" He wrinkled my shirt. He ruined my bra. He damaged my body. And yes, I was deeply affected emotionally, but I refused to be broken. My eventual ability to bounce back came from the comfort in knowing, number one, that if my daddy knew, this creep would be toast. My support system, music, prayer, faith, love, humor, quite honestly, the Cosby Show, family and friends, got me through then and gets me through hard times now. But as I reflected on this story, I had a question and I want to ask it to you. What about people whose lives are void of supports, but full of tragedy, that prevent them and the communities they live in from bouncing back? What about them who didn't have my experience? How many of us have ever been guilty of showing up with our public face on that only reflects a fraction of who we really are? Tell the truth. How many of us have ever done that before? Look at the room. Why do we do that? Because the environment around us is not designed to be a safe space for being authentic, so that we can be the help and get the help that we need. I think we're afraid that doing a play on Jack Nicholson's famous movie line, we can't handle the truth. Shouldn't systems and behavior patterns in St. Louis that reinforce and perpetuate disease and isolation and pain be accountable? I'm just asking a question. Shouldn't these systems be disrupted right about now? And shouldn't these systems be changed to truly be alive and well? By virtue of your attendance today, I take it that our collective answer is yes. So, each of you today, like me, you've had your fill of tragedies, you have your own story, and you have your share of triumphs, right? Right. Life experiences shape who we have become and the work that we are called to do. And this is why we are here. Because we have serious work to get done together. And so now, the work begins at your tables.
You are invited to join the conversation. If you, your family, or your organization is interested in talking about how we better the well-being of the region, sign up for more information, join the conversation, log on to aliveandwellstl.com, and let's build a plan on how we can work together and improve our overall health and become alive and well.
We are grateful for your gift of time to this conversation. We encourage you to stay involved and get involved. Visit aliveandwellstl.com to learn more.
Alive and Well STL, the Regional Health Commission with Chief Executive Officer Robert Friend Jr., committed to providing a detailed review of change over the past decade and 14 leading health indicators for the city and county of St. Louis. The first decade review of health status report, an update to building a healthier St. Louis. Discover the narrative, the data, and celebrate the progress already made to improve healthcare access and reduce health disparities in our region. Learn more at STLRHC.org. Alive and Well STL is another positive production of RareGem Productions. Thanks for listening.